What's up? Welcome back to Nowstalgia. Dave here with a review of Bob Marley One Love, the latest musical biopic film starring Kingsley Ben-Adir as Bob Marley and Lashana Lynch as Rita Marley. This film is directed by Ronaldo Marcus Green, his follow-up to King Richard from a few years back. And of course, this continues a consistent trend in the film-going world, which of course is the musical biopic film, a familiar format for movies, and also a pretty generally fruitful and popular one, as evidenced by many hit musical biopics of recent years, such as Bohemian Rhapsody and Rocket Man and Elvis. And Bob Marley One Love really exceeded those box office expectations this past weekend. So it can kind of continuing that trend. And it makes a lot of sense because, of course, Bob Marley is a music icon with a lot of fans, really generations of fans at this point. So his life is, of course, ripe for the music biopic treatment. Unfortunately, Bob Marley One Love is a lackluster and disappointing biopic, despite the magnitude of Bob Marley's life as a cultural icon, as a music trailblazer, as a political force through his music and his message. Really, none of that is captured in an effective way in the film Bob Marley One Love. The film is very surface level, it's very trite, and frankly, it just doesn't get deep enough into any of the things Bob Marley represented, nor any of the personal aspects to Marley, his wife, or his band as well. It really doesn't spend any time getting into any of the various options you have in terms of trying to tell something meaningful, despite the fact that this movie is largely only focused on a handful of years in the late 70s, as Bob's early 30s progressing to his late 30s, and when, of course, he tragically passes young at age 36 from cancer. Bob Marley One Love wastes, I think, a lot of time with these kind of flashback scenes, these memory scenes where we see a child Bob as well as a teenage Bob when he's first starting out with his band, the Wailers. But it just feels like it's like taking time away from spending any time with adult Bob, played by Kingsley Ben-Adir, and like we're just not getting anywhere. And to me, it's a big shame because Kingsley Ben-Adir, he is a great actor. I've been very interested in him ever since, of course, the big breakout a few years back when he played Malcolm X in One Night in Miami. Tremendous actor. Marvel, of course, wasted him with Secret Invasion, but he's a great actor, and he does a great job as Bob Marley. And Lashana Lynch does a good job with the material she's giving as Rita. It's not nothing to do with the acting. There's really just a problem with the script. You know, Kingsley Ben-Adir really imbuing, I think, the mannerisms and the energy and the performance ticks that Bob had on stage, but also I think really genuinely commanding like the screen with the way Bob spoke. You know, really giving you that like Jamaican patois. It doesn't feel like a ripoff or like a joke in any way. I think it comes across quite genuine and comes across quite well. And he's really rocking the dreads, I believe, via wig. And I think he's really kind of great as Bob. The problem is, like, they just don't get into much, like the message of Bob and how that perhaps could relate to Rastafari culture, Jamaican politics, the wisdom of Marcus Garvey, the Haile Selassie. All these things are briefly referenced but never touched on in Bob Marley One Love. And to me, that's just disappointing because this was a story that had a lot of room to go in a lot of different directions, and they decided to go right down the middle. They even nod at like infidelity, but they don't go anywhere with that. You know, they just don't spend any time with it. Thankfully, there is many Bob Marley songs in this because the Bob Marley estate was involved with the creation of this biopic. You have to imagine creatively they might have directed some things away from where the writers maybe want to go to get more invested in things. Nonetheless, you have all the songs, but they're kind of used as like crutches where they'll be talking about like the sentiment of a song, like characters will be speaking about it. Next thing you know, we'll be hearing those lyrics like in the very next sentence as a performance comes up. So it's fun to be with the songs. I think it's fun to be with performers, but I was definitely let down because I just think there was so much more meat on this bone, and maybe even if we had just not spent so much time with these kind of shallow flashback scenes and just spent more time in the present, which of course, again, like the late 70s during the later years of Bob Marley's life, would have been interesting because like he's just kind of an icon. He's just kind of a like massive superstar musically, and the Jamaican people just kind of love him. But like we don't really know why because it's never like shown to us. It's only told to us as the movie progresses. So I was entertained by the things that are good about this movie, but really just kind of let down by the general structure and script issues that Bob Marley One Love has. So yeah, I mean, I'm I'm happy the movie did good. I'm not like tired of musical biopic films. I enjoy them, and I think I'm not even like a huge reggae fan per se. Like I don't even know too many of Bob Marley songs beyond the big hits. I was still very interested in this story. We'll of course be getting a lot of musical biopic talk coming soon. Of course, the Amy Winehouse movie comes out in May, and then Antoine Fuqua's Michael Jackson biopic comes out next year, which I think a lot of people have reservations about. So more to come. But yeah, Bob Marley One Love, disappointing. Honestly, disappointing for just not being as great as it could have been. And I think this was a story, this was a subject that definitely had that potential. And we should probably spend more time with the Bob Marley documentaries that are out there, some of the other reggae films that are out there, because this really just doesn't delve too deep. But yeah, let me know, how did you feel about Bob Marley One Love? Did you like it more than me? Were you able to ignore some of those obvious faults and still enjoy the movie? Let me know. What's your favorite Bob song? And for more movie reviews, subscribe. And I'll see you next time.